Welcome back to Wisdom with a Walking Wish List. It is Ashley, and I'm back for another video. So, you already know what we doing. We pulling a card for topic. Let's see what popped out. Villain era. Interesting. So, villain era is the topic. Let's see what the energy is like. And we got, this says Ten of Pentacles, but I'm going to go with wholeness. I'm going to go with wholeness. I'm going to go with family, right? That kind of energy, stability, 10 toes down, that kind of thing. So in 2025, in the age of Aquarius, what people talk about when they talking about villain era and embracing that, this energy specifically is for people who are coming from a paradigm where they felt oftentimes guilty, right, for standing in a specific area of their own power. A lot of people who I'm talking about specifically have been, whether it's guilted out of it or coached out of it or shamed out of it. And what I mean by this energy is being able to stand up for yourself. Stand 10 toes down in your own energy by knowing that you are all that you need. Going back to the Ten of Pentacles, or, being whole from within. Understanding that everything you need, you have been given. Everything that you need, God has put it on the inside of you. And you probably know that, like, intuitively, or just you're in your subconscious mind, right? And you probably embodied that. You probably exuded that in your younger years, or in times where, you were just naive of the outside world, and you were just being your full self. And usually that's when we are younger, right, in age, or unawares of all the energy that the world carries, right? And what happens is we have a specific kind of energy about ourselves, and it's just so unconscious, and we don't even see ourselves. It's like before a person ever looks in a mirror, that people can see you before you see yourself. And what happens is the opposing energies, which is natural to come by because we are electromagnetic beings, right? You got positive, negative, that kind of, just keeping that in mind. What you are attracted to, what's attracted to you, like attracts like, but also opposites do attract in this realm of what I'm talking about, right? So the opposing energy sees you, or witnesses your greatness, witnesses your glory, witnesses all that God has put on the inside of you, and unfortunately it wants to draw from that power. It wants to take from that. And so oftentimes people experience relationships, situations that may seem that do seem like paranormal, or it may seem supernatural to an extent, that occurs in their lifetime, where they can't explain it oftentimes. Well, now we are better able to explain these things, this phenomenon, but it changes you. It takes your power. It like literally draws from you. And you can sometimes identify and pinpoint certain areas in your life, certain times of your life, people, places, and things with certain kind of recurring things that have drawn from your power and kind of like robbed you a bit. But on the healing journey, what people often refer to nowadays, the point of it is to reclaim your power, to be able to recall your power, recall who you are, recall those things that lit you up, got you going, made you happy, sparked your interest, ignited your passions, had you going a specific kind of way before you ever relied on anything on the outside of you, before the dynamics of this world and the structures and what the world tells us we should and should not do, and all the energy that is, surrounding us, penetrates us and causes us to kind of get off our own path, connects us with certain kinds of people and individuals. And the irony of it is, it's made just for that. We were born so perfectly, right? We were born through the veil of forgetfulness, but as a child, as a young individual, right, when we have all these talents, all this energy, right, you are so close to the spiritual realm, and then life, quote unquote, happens, which kind of takes you away from that and has you focusing on this outside reality versus exuding from the inside. And then there comes a point in time where all of those things happen, right? And then the awakening of your soul and your spirit occurs. Your spirit, man, grows up. Your soul is awakened. And at those specific turning points are the times where you have to integrate it all. You integrate your experiences that you have on this planet with who you truly are through remembrance. Then you got to remember. And then it's like in school, when the tests come, when the test at the end of the year or the end of the semester comes and it tests all your knowledge and all your awareness, that's what the awakening process is. The reclamation of your powers that have been sporadically taken by this person and that person who hurt your feelings, and that person who didn't give you an apology, and that person who took you out of your godhood and your divine, or yourself, oftentimes, and which is, was misconstrued because we allow all of these things. All of the things that we have allowed through the interactions with people, places, and things, and in these relationships. So oftentimes when we need to forgive from the outside, it's a double thing, because we have to forgive ourselves for the allowance, because we have the power. We are the power. Everything comes from within us. We just come into relation with people, places, and things that lower our frequency enough where it allow those things to occur. So we have to forgive ourselves for those allowances and stand on our business, on our 10 toes, on our 10 pinnacles, which means the energy from within will then manifest on the outside as fullness, wholeness, all of the things that we want to have in this lifetime. But it will only come appropriately and long lasting if it's built on a solid foundation. And a solid foundation is put on the inside of you. That's why the scriptures will tell you, seek ye first the kingdom of God, which is on the inside of you. So you have to seek, right? You have to seek. And it's going to lead you back to yourself. It's going to lead you to your own kingdom, to your own awareness, to your own throne. So you have to know thyself. Well, and getting into that, like knowing thyself, right? And that's what we're talking about, quote unquote, the villain era. Knowing that you can be the hero and the villain in anybody's story. And you're always that in your story, depending upon which mantle you want to take up. And that's so important because, as I said before, you have the power. You carry the power. You are the power. And your reality will only reflect what it is that you tell yourself, what it is that you allow. Okay? And oftentimes things have been put into us and instilled in us as fear. That's why it's okay to be in your quote unquote villain era, because sometimes you have to overcome not sometimes, but it comes a point in time you have to overcome the fears that have crippled you, that have made you a victim in any situation. So if reclaiming your power and calling your power back to stand on your own 10 toes so you can manifest and grab hold of the life that you want and that you know you deserve based on what you tell yourself, because a man is as so he thinks, he or she, whatever. I'm not talking about pronouns right now. It's okay to be a villain in somebody's story. It's so okay. Because I'd rather be a villain than a victim at a point in my life. Okay? So like I said, sometimes we gotta be the villain in somebody's story. I'm okay with being a villain in my story, if that means getting all what the processes of this life have taken away from me based on what I have been taught, what I have been shown to be a good life, quote unquote, to be successful, quote unquote, to be a good friend or loyal. I had to dismantle all of those things that I have been taught because it did not resonate with my spirit and with my soul. So I dismantled that. And I started to seek ye. I'm a seeker, right? So I sought first myself through the process of seeking God, right? Through my religious upbringing. And the religious paradigm, of course, was shattered into pieces, which brought me to myself, which allowed me to be loyal to my spirit, my soul, my body, my mind. And that in turn made me a villain to a lot of people around me that I love dearly, that I know love me, but it looks differently now, the way that I portray love for myself, or give them love, or show love through the boundaries that I have set up in my life, so I can be able to sustain, maintain, and attain the life and the liberty and the freedom that I know that I deserve. Okay? So cheers to being the villain in somebody's story, in your own story, right? So you can stand 10 toes down. So you can be 10 toes down, so you can stand all the way up for yourself and for the people who you are truly responsible for. Okay? And there we have it. All right. Thank you for joining me for today's message. I think we got right to the point today. I'm grateful to be able to deliver this message. And I'm glad that you tuned in and tapped in with me. Okay? See you again in the next video.